me, work, body for me, what, work it. Get down, 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 get down.
Hey ladies, welcome to Somebody Come Listen to This podcast. I am your host, Nava. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as you come in, and let's start talking about this right away. So this is a topic that I haven't heard too many people talking about, and I think this is very important because women are taking a stand worldwide, not just because Trump won, but because women are just tired worldwide of being just ignored, not heard. And the only way for us to do that is for us to do what we're going to talk about in this video. So a woman went to her therapist to talk about how much it hurt her that Trump won. And a lot of women are experiencing this. They are finding out that their therapists hate them, basically. Like, because if there's no other way to put it, if your therapist voted for him, they actually do not like you. They're not concerned about what's about to happen to you, what rights are about to be taken away from you. This is not just for Black women. This is for other groups of people also. So a lot of women are actually not going to their therapist anymore because of their their political views and who they voted for. But I think this should also spread into like your doctors, your OBGYNs and stuff like that, because how else is the patriarchy going to fall if women don't stop supporting the patriarchy? And I know that it's going to be hard to just search. You got to search for people who didn't vote for him, because according to the stats and the polls, almost everybody voted for him. But I don't believe that's true. I really don't believe that's true. I just think you need to ask around, and that should be one question that everybody asks. If you don't feel safe with people treating you that voted for him, I think you should ask. And I'm going to get into these videos. It's not a lot. This is going to be a really short video, and I will be back after this.
There is a video going around where a Black woman ended up firing her therapist because her therapist voted for Trump and didn't seem to even acknowledge or accept how that would impact her. And just the way the story was told just kind of said, it's my job to listen to you, and that her responsibility ended there. And that is why we say therapy is political. Now, for clients that politics, it doesn't come into the therapy room and they don't bring it in, and that's fine. That's a whole other thing. But for clients where who their therapist votes for, if that's an important thing, if that impacts their ability to feel safe with that clinician, I think that's really important. And for that individual, I tagged Therapy for Black Girls, and there are a ton of other directories where you can find a therapist. And there are even some, I think Therapy Den includes the therapist's political leanings, I think. I could be wrong with that. I have public social media because if somebody was interested in working with me, they might check out my page. And if certain things are an issue for them, they would know upfront. During an initial session with a client, if they wanted to know, how do I vote on certain issues, I would be more than comfortable answering those questions, because it might impact if they decide to work with me. And that should be the client's choice. For anyone that would like to check out more information on just how to kind of cope with what's coming in 2025, I have a video on my YT that goes into that more. It's on my live videos. Should be pretty easy to find.
So yesterday I saw a video that was really profound. It was about a young Black lady who went to her safe space, which is her mental health therapist, and she asked her point blank, who did you vote for? Now, the therapist got uncomfortable because, of course, we already know when they become quiet and uncomfortable, they voted for Trump. And she did. She voted for Trump. The young Black lady proceeds to ask her, did you even think about me when you voted for Trump? And when she's saying me as a young Black woman, okay? And the lady was like, no. Her thoughts is her immediate needs, the gas, the groceries, not the fact that they're going to take away your freedoms and rights. And that young Black lady was really courageous because she walked away from her therapeutic relationship. Honestly, if you're a therapist and you voted for Trump, I think that's an oxymoron. Social workers are expected to be advocates on people's behalf. They are there to fight for the less fortunate. But when you tell me you're a therapist and you voted for a rapist, a felon, someone who is an absolutely bad person who is seeking power and division, then I have to ask, why are you even a therapist? So if you are in a therapeutic relationship or seeking to be in one, I don't think it's a bad question to ask. You want to make sure that you are in a safe space. Anyway, you guys have a blessed day.
You are not a good therapist if you vote for Donald Trump. Period. I'm sorry. Therapy is political. We cannot do our job without thinking about the issues that affect our clients. How can you listen to your clients and then turn around and vote for someone who is inflicting the same harm that brought your clients to see you in the first place?
Asking your therapist who they're voting for isn't irrelevant or weird or inappropriate. I think it's actually super important to know, and as a therapist myself, I want to tell you why. Every single healthy, sustainable, effective therapeutic relationship is founded on safety and trust. If I can't trust you, I don't feel safe with you. If I don't feel safe with you, I can't trust you. Here's how I see it. If what or who you vote for goes directly against my humanity, recognition of my humanity, my ability to be an autonomous person in the world, how can I trust your ability to recognize my humanity and integrity and autonomy when we're in the therapy office together? How I show up as a therapist is going to impact how I show up as a voter and vice versa. This is because it all comes down to my values. To me, asking your therapist about their values and what they hold important, what influences their decision making, is pretty synonymous with asking them about who they're going to vote for or maybe what their voter record is. When having this conversation, I think it's really important to recognize three things, and these three things are what inform my perspective on it. 1, the personal is political. Period. 2, people are impacted by their environments. Can't help it. And 3, there are direct correlations between legislative attacks on marginalized folks and those same marginalized folks having increased mental illnesses and mental health difficulties. If your therapist doesn't uphold and support values and policies that protect you and uplift you and champion your basic human rights at the very least, what are we doing in this office together, and how can anyone expect you to trust a person who vote in ways that actively disrupt and demean your life? In recognizing that mental health is in fact very political, I do also want to recognize that the board that I'm licensed under in Ohio, the Counselor, Social Worker, Marriage and Family Therapist Board, it is actually under the Attorney General's office. Yeah, it is under the Attorney General's office. That is who enforces my licensure, and that is who keeps me, in line. That is the police. That is literally, hello, we see it, right? It is not a coincidence that much of the conversations around mental health are very similar to the topics that are discussed in politics. Ultimately, what I've learned as a therapist is that one of the most effective ways that I can build trust and feelings of safety with another person is through transparency. If you feel like you know who you're talking to and you know what I believe, you know what my values are, you know how I'm going to respond to things just because you know those basic things about me, that is going to help our relationship exponentially, and it's only going to help us build more and more trust. The more I'm transparent with you and the more you see my transparency being in line with what you experience, great. Then you can start to trust me and know that I'm a person that actually walks the walk and talks the talk and, means what they say and say what they mean. We have to be honest with each other. The internet exists. We don't have this whole Wizard of Oz, person behind the curtain thing anymore, where your therapist is just this random isolated person, kind of like an NPC that doesn't exist outside of the office. We are out here. We're personalities on TikTok. Hey, we are out here doing things, living our lives, and posting about it. So you're gonna see it, and you can Google shit about me. Why are we pretending like you can't Google shit about me? You can. So let's talk about it. Let's be transparent about it. And honestly, at the end of the day, if your therapist is voting for policies or people that are going to enact policies that are going to directly harm you and directly impact your daily life, it is very reasonable for you to want to, 1, know that, 2, know that up front, and 3, be able to make a decision that is best for you based off of information that you need to consent to a relationship that is very, very intimate and can be very vulnerable. You do not need to expose yourself to more harm than you have already faced, especially more harm than you've already faced, unfortunately, in previous therapeutic relationships. And at this point in your life, nope, pass. There are plenty of fish in the sea, and by fish I mean therapists. And if you need help finding a therapist that is aligned with your values, hit me up, let me know, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, I know I said the worst thing is that there's going to be people who go into work today and their coworkers are going to be happy and excited. And I was like, that's the worst thing. No, there's people right now who are making emergency appointments with their therapists who are going to show up with grins on their face.
I'm sorry, but one group of people I will just never understand are healthcare professionals or future healthcare professionals who vote for Trump. Because how can you say you care about your patients and you care about your patients' access to healthcare when you're actively voting for a man who's trying to strip those rights away from them? Like, voting for Trump while saying, like, you care so much about, like, the future of healthcare in America, like, those things are just so contradictory, and those are mutually exclusive ideas. Those are. And things like the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid, like, these are not things that the Republican Party tends to be in support of. I just feel like as a pre-med student, as a Black woman, as a basic human being, I mean, I have no choice but to vote blue.
If you go to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or any kind of psychotherapist and they involuntarily tell you who they're voting for and what their political views are, you're not seeing the right therapist. I just saw a video of a woman whose therapist did share with her when she didn't ask. She was there because of the consequences of what's going on with politics, and that should be addressed by the therapist. But unless a client says to me as a therapist, what are your views? I need to know. Even then, I might not even answer until I say, what does it mean to you about who I'm going to vote for? How will that impact your therapy? How will that impact your life and your work with me? And as I help you manage your symptoms, because I want to know the psychological consequences for you of what's happening in politics. Making it about me deflects from you. And there's also something called transference in our field, which is positive and negative transference. I'm always exploring how you might be projecting onto me and to feel toward me. I will tell if you ask, but it has no place in therapy if you don't.
I'm going to say that any therapist or doctor who doesn't answer you like this and they try to gaslight you and go around your question without just telling you who they voted for or just saying, yes, I voted for him, or no, I didn't vote for him, they're lying to you and you should start looking for someone else. It's just gaslighting. So just go find somebody else. You're not going to get the answer that you want to get. They need to stand on what they did. They believed in their vote. They wanted him so bad. They need to stand on it and go forward with their life. They're going to get everything that they asked for and then some. They weren't expecting for women to actually care about other women and their lives this much. They weren't expecting for gay people to care this much about their lives. They weren't expecting for Black women to care this much about their lives that they would cut them off, that they would cut family off, cut everybody off, because everybody is just tired of the United States just playing with their lives, their livelihood, their actual health. You can't afford to be under the care of people who hate you. You cannot afford that. We've done it for too long, especially Black women. We know what it's like. As a whole, Black women know what it's like to go into places like hospitals where people do not like you, where people will take your life because they don't like you. We cannot afford it anymore. So let's get back to these last few videos and I'll be back.
This is for the girl that walked out on her therapy session after finding out her white woman therapist voted for Trump. I wanted to stitch your video, but I couldn't. And I just wanted to let you know, as you should, and you are not being dramatic. You are not doing too much. I'm not going to start preaching about why mental health and therapy is political because I already have multiple videos about that on my page. But nothing about the United States of America is neutral. Nothing. And we have to start being curious about who therapists are as people because it matters. The rule of neutrality is a fallacy. Like, it's not real. Therapists have opinions, they have beliefs, they have values, they have ethics. And whether or not they are trying to make those parts of themselves impact the way that they show up in session, it does impact the way that they show up in session. For me, being a therapist is not just a job. It is a responsibility. Being a therapist has fundamentally changed me as a person. And I cannot understand how you listen to people's stories, especially people who are the most oppressed, who have lack of resources, lack of capital, lack of support, who don't have their basic needs met. I don't know how you listen to their stories in session and then vote directly against their well-being. I don't understand that. A therapist's politics can influence how much empathy they have for their clients, how much support they give their clients. I mean, it affects everything. It affects everything in session. It matters. So, Miss Girl, I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. You were right to fire your therapist. And you made the right decision. And if you live in Texas, hit me up because I'm still taking new clients.
I see a lot of people on here being worried whether their therapist voted for Trump. And something that I am so proud of when it comes to my screening process for therapists is that I know for a goddamn fact that my therapist did not vote for Trump. That woman is a Democratic Socialist to the core, and I know she voted for Kamala. Please ask good, probing questions in your intake appointment when you are selecting a therapist. Ask about things that matter to you, queer issues, housing issues, abortion, because one day you might have to get an abortion, and then who are you going to discuss those feelings with? You should be able to discuss those feelings with your therapist. And also remember, it is proven by research that having a good therapeutic relationship with your therapist is the biggest indicator of success in therapy. So get a therapist who stands for your rights and believes the same things that you do and has the same morals as you do.
I saw a TikTok yesterday of a Black woman whose parents are immigrants. She basically quit her therapist because she found out that her therapist was a Trump supporter. And when I tell you that really did something, because I'm a social worker, I'm a therapist, and I pride myself on being a safe person and creating a safe space for all people. And so when I hear of behavior like what happened with this woman and with my colleagues in the field, I call them other therapists, other social workers, I'm just like, did we not all go to the same school? Are we not all doing the same thing? This creator said when she asked her therapist if she thought about her when she went into the booth to vote for Trump, her therapist said, no, I don't really think about you like that. So now I'm sitting here like, okay, social workers and therapists who voted for Trump, do they not feel conflicted? I'm really having a hard time figuring out how you go in every day to work to do what you do, but also feel the way you feel in your personal life. It's giving violation of code of ethics. There's a code of ethics that social workers follow. And I'm going to read to you specifically the one on social justice. The NASW, that's the National Association of Social Workers, has a code of ethics. Here's the one where the value is social justice. Social workers pursue social change, particularly with and on behalf of vulnerable and oppressed individuals and groups of people. Social workers' social change efforts are focused primarily on issues of poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and other forms of social injustice. These activities seek to promote sensitivity to and knowledge about oppression and cultural and ethnic diversity. Social workers strive to ensure access to needed information, services, and resources, equality of opportunity, and meaningful participation in decision-making for all people. As social workers and therapists, we will talk to our clients about self-care. And sometimes those tips may include making sure that there is a balance or a separation between work and home. So home, work-life balance. This is not an example of that. Being a social worker and or a therapist that voted for Trump That's not a compartmentalizing situation. That's not this, I just have good work, personal balance. Those two parts of your life need to overlap. Because how do you do what you do? How do you sit in front of clients that you voted their rights away? Sweetie, if you're worried about job security, don't be worried about it. I mean, there's a lot of other things about the world that are going downhill. The world's going to need social workers and therapists. Don't worry. You don't got to be concerned about job security. Is that why you did what you did? Don't be worried about that. I just can't see how those two go together. How can you vote rights away for people who then come into your office to get therapy for the crisis that came because you voted their rights? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Do you feel like you're a safe person for your clients and for all your clients? I'm just having a real hard time wrapping my brain around that.
What a time to be a therapist. I've been in private practice for over a decade, served hundreds of clients, and in recent weeks, the sessions that I've had, I've never experienced anything like it. Just like my experience as the therapist, holding space for people on, opposing sides of the political spectrum, and just witnessing all of, the fear and the pain and the sadness and rage and hatred, and the language being used to describe another group of people. It's just, as a therapist, I truly found myself several times sitting there just feeling like, how am I supposed to navigate this? How am I supposed to navigate it? And I actually, at one point, told a client, I just have to name that I don't know how to navigate this. I don't know what I'm doing. And I just spoke from the heart. I just said, I want to validate your feelings, like your experience. I mean, I see your heart. These are people I've been working with a long time. They're great people, both sides. And, I care for you. And your feelings make sense given your beliefs and your upbringing, your life circumstances. Oh my goodness, like, I don't blame you one bit for feeling the way that you feel. And the way that, like, the cognitive distortions, the extreme black and white thinking, the attempt to cope through extreme measures, like cutting important people out of their lives, it's not good for you. It's actually not in the best interest for you to continue thinking that way, but it is such a delicate thing to navigate in session, because you're a safe place. As a therapist, you're a safe place for these people, but you're not a yes person, right? And I, under no circumstance, will fuel that type of narrative that has so much disdain and hate in it. It's not good for my client, who I have, taken an oath to do no harm. And I hold unconditional positive regard for every single one of my clients. And that is one thing that I just kind of on the flip side of behind the scenes of the therapeutic, the clinician side of things and what's happening behind the scenes, I can honestly say that I am one of few therapists who genuinely has the ability to hold unbiased space to completely be in it with whatever client is in front of me, and to see them and see their heart, see their experience, see their pain, no matter what my personal beliefs are, and without any agenda to sway them one way or the other. I mean, all of these therapy groups, on Facebook, communities of therapists, and I've never been so disappointed in the industry that I'm in, of therapists who are finding it hard to even treat certain clients because of their political views, and maybe they're playing the part, right? They're faking it through session and having really strong reactions and opinions outside of the session, or they're taking it upon themselves to educate their client if their views are different than theirs. And it's so unethical. It's beyond comprehension. Beyond.
So this woman said there are good people on both sides right after saying that she was hearing people talk about how much they hate other people. This is a therapist that cannot be trusted no matter who she votes for, because that's the same exact thing Trump said. Like, no, if they're coming in there telling you that they hate a certain group of people and they put them all in the same box because of A, B, and C, and you're saying they're good people on both sides. No, if they're voting against human rights, against basic rights, it's just common decency, you can't be a therapist and say shit like there are good people on both sides. No, if they were good people, they would have studied, they would have looked into what laws were going to be enforced, what was going to happen if they voted for this man. It's a lot of them online now regretting their vote because they're just now finding out how serious it is, only because people are cutting them off. This is like what I talk about with the situation between women and men. People don't listen until you turn around and walk away from them and cut them off. And that's when they want to listen and understand you. That's what's happening right now. This is like a man-woman dynamic, like how most men do not listen to women until they walk away. Now these people are online saying they regret their vote for Trump because they're losing family members, they're losing friends, they're losing their wives, their kids, just losing everything. So no, there aren't good people. You can't be a good person and not listen to the cries and the pleas of people who are marginalized and oppressed and stomped on all the time. You just can't. But that's all I had to say, ladies. Get down in my comments and let me know if you had a therapist, or if you have a therapist, have you asked them like who they voted for? Are you thinking about asking them? And what are you going to do after that? Like, I don't believe in therapy personally, because I feel like I'm just another reason I have no friends. I feel like I'm smarter than most therapists. I don't feel like you have to go to years of school to learn how to talk to people and to be wise. I don't think most people, just because they have a license, are wise. I just feel like wisdom, it just comes naturally. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. Like, I don't feel like that's even if it helps you, it helps you. Some people can be helped by it. They have said that they've been helped by it, but I only know like one person that is in therapy, and I don't feel like that therapy has helped this person at all. They like going, it makes them feel better, but who am I to tell them don't go? Because I don't think it's helping you. But ladies, what are we going to do? I think this is what is needed to destroy the patriarchy. I think women turning away from certain people, certain businesses, and just supporting the things that benefit them, and women being selfish right now for the next 4 years or 8 years is what is going to be needed for people to listen. You have to turn your back on people sometimes to get your message through, because they're not going to hear your screams for help. So let's talk about it, and I will talk to you ladies later. Bye.